Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, whichever part of the world you're joining us from. My name is Vignesh and I will be your host for today. Thank you for joining us in this webinar on automating functional tests using low code. Before we get started, a couple of ground rules. First, we are recording this webinar and we will be sharing the recording with you towards the end of the session. If any of your colleagues have missed today's session, please feel free to share the recording with them. Second, if you have any queries on anything that is related to the topic that is being discussed in the webinar today, or anything related to test automation in general, we have a panel of experts here eagerly waiting to answer your queries. So please feel free to shout out your queries on test automation or low code using the chat box on your Zoom screen. Our panel of experts will answer your queries towards the end of the session. So that's it for the ground rules. Let's start with a quick look at today's agenda. We will start with an introduction to Testsigma, and then we'll talk about why and how should you be automating functional tests. Then we'll take a quick look at the need and the essence of low-code test automation for automating your functional tests, and we will talk about how to automate a simple functional test using Testsigma's low-code test automation capabilities. And then we'll extend that to understand how you can automate complex functional test scenarios using Testsigma's capabilities. And finally, we'll wrap up today's session with a Q&A. That is the agenda for today. Starting with a quick introduction to Testsigma. Testsigma is a low-code end-to-end test automation solution that can help you automate tests up to 5 times faster using simple plain English. Using Testsigma, you can automate tests across a variety of platforms, including web, mobile, desktop applications, APIs, and whatnot. Testsigma can be used to automate tests across over 3,000 plus mobile devices and 1,000 plus browser combinations. In fact, we like to call Testsigma as the operating system for quality. Our clients, on an average, have replaced over 10 different tools in their QA tech stack using a single unified solution in the form of Testsigma. That is an introduction to Testsigma and a glimpse of its powerful and robust capabilities. Moving on to the focus topic for today, why should you be automating functional tests? In a recent survey, we figured out that over 66% of organizations prefer to automate their functional tests instead of testing them manually. Why is this so? Functional tests in general have a direct make or break relationship with your business. And given today's very low tolerance of end users towards poor user experience and defects, functional tests are very, very important. And also, in a lot of organizations, functional tests are extremely data driven and often involve multiple smaller repeatable components. Given the volume, size, scale, and importance of functional tests, it's essential to automate them to not only improve test coverage, but also to ensure that the quality of your testing is of the highest possible standards. How do you automate functional tests? There are two ways. You can do it either with scripts or without scripts. The problem with traditional script-based functional test automation is that the frameworks like APM and Selenium require complicated setup, and these frameworks also require a lot of time and maintenance effort, which means every time you make some changes to your code, you have to go and rewrite your test scripts. And this becomes much more complex if your functional test spans across platforms. Which brings us to the third point against script-based functional test automation, which is that script-based traditional functional test automation solutions are very, very hard to scale. And if you have your functional testing as a part of your larger end-to-end test automation or larger end-to-end testing strategy, functional tests that involve scripts can add a lot of overhead to your testing strategy. This is why it was advisable to have a tool that can help you automate the repeatable components of your functional tests and help you improve your test coverage without having to write tons and tons of scripts. which is where a tool like Testsigma comes into play. Testsigma helps you simplify functional test automation by helping you record and execute functional tests up to 5 times faster than conventional test automation systems using just simple plain English. In other words, you do not require any prior technical knowledge. You can just sign up to Testsigma and start recording your functional tests and then quickly execute them. It is as simple as that. How? Let us show you a quick example. I'll start with a very basic use case. Let's assume that I need to automate the login function of my web application or my mobile application. Let me quickly take you through the code to understand how this whole process works. Let me show you the Testsigma interface and explain how you can automate a very simple functionality like login in very few steps. Okay, so taking you to the Testsigma interface. So let me quickly take you to the Testsigma interface. Here it is. Right. Let me switch. Yes. So welcome to the Testsigma interface. If I want to create a new project, all that I have to do is I have to go. I can click on new project here. Let's say basic functional test automation. If you want to make your functional tests, automate functional tests across multiple platforms, you can say allow adding multiple applications in this project. You could say you could have a web application, let's say functional web 1. And if you're going to have multiple versions, you can even enable multiple versions as well. So for now, I'm just going to create a basic web application in my functional test automation suite. So I click on create. It asks me for a version. I'm going to say 1 and I'm going to click on create. All right. Now I could, to automate my basic use case here is that I need to automate the login functionality. So that I have to do is click on create test case and click on the record button. So now Testsigma opens a new screen and all that I have to do is type the URL. So my URL is going to be travel.testsigma.com, which is the application that I'm going to test. As you can see, the recorder opens up here. Whatever operations you're performing on your screen will be recorded. So my login is hidden inside this profile icon. So I'm going to click on the profile icon and I'm going to click on the login button, which opens me to the login screen. Let's say my username is admin. My password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I click on login. I see the new screen and let's say my assertion is that it should have this one-way flying as enabled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my recording right now. So when I do that, Testsigma is going to come back. As you can see, all the steps that you have recorded are now on the screen. So now all that I have to do is, let me try running this for you. But before that, let me add an assertion. Let's say verify that the current page displays text one way. Okay. Now let's see what happens when I run this. It's a simple functional test case of verifying the login. You can test it across browsers. I don't have to write different scripts for different browsers. All that I have to do is click on run. It will ask me for the configurations. I can either run it on Testsigma Lab or I can connect it to a local device. Right now I'm going to try running this on my Windows 11 in the Edge latest browser. You can also add multiple browsers. I'll tell you that how to do that in a bit while. And you also have options for additional settings if you would like to use different environment variables for different environments. You can configure what level of screenshots would you need, page timeout, etc. So right now I'm going to click on run and let's see what happens. Testsigma instantaneously executes all the steps and it shows you the results. You have the screenshots, you have the video logs, you have the test step details, all those data. If you want to access the video, you can click on watch video. You have the screenshots, and you could also get more details. You could get the network logs, etc. I'll show you that in a bit. But coming back to my test case, right? The username and password are sensitive information. What do? Just click on this. I click on this lock button to encrypt this. Similarly goes for my password as well. So you really do not have to be concerned about security in Testsigma. All your data is perfectly safe. Again, now expanding the scope of this test case a bit more. Usually it's not just one combination of username and password that I would like to verify. What if I have multiple combinations? All that I have to do is go to click on test data and click on test data profiles. A test data profile is a combination of test data that you would like to use in a test case. So I can create a test data profile, and let's say I'm going to have two parameters. So I'm going to have two columns, and let's say the name for the first one is cred1, and it's the admin, and let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, I can encrypt this. I can encrypt this if as well if required. Let's add another test case. Let's say cred2. Let's say admin 1, 2, 3, and let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The same password, but I'm expecting this to fail. Let's add another third test case. Let's say cred3, and let's say admin, but the password is different this time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm expecting this to fail as well. I click on create. I have to type a name. Let's say login test data profile. I click on create. Now I go back to my test case, and let me go here, and here is my username and password steps. I click on parameter. It asks me to either create a new test data profile or associate. I'm going to associate the one that I've already created. Choose login. And if I want to make this data driven, which is navigate, and I could do that as well, right? And I'm going to click on close. Oh, sorry, parameter. And I'm going to click on parameter 1. I'm going to click on update text. I'm going to go to parameter 2. I'm going to make that data driven as well. And it's going to be password, right? And I'm going to run this. Again, I could run it here. I'm just showing you the ad hoc execution. I'll talk about scheduling runs in a short while. I click on run and watch what happens. Testsigma again executes. Instantaneous execution, you get all the results here. No need to write complex test scripts. You could try on different versions, different version of browsers, you could try on different desktops. Now, so that is a basic functional test automation execution in Testsigma. As you can see, it gets done within minutes. There is no scripts required. If it is web applications that you're willing to do functional tests on, you'll just have to click on record, and you can start recording your actions, and Testsigma will take care of the rest of it. As I already said, functional tests involve a lot of reusable components. So what if you have reusable components? You need not have to record the reusable components again and again. Testsigma has something called as step groups. Let's assume my username and password are repetitive actions. What I can do is I can click on these fields. I can click on create step group. Let's say username and password step group. Okay. I can click on create and replace. It replaces it here. So now, whenever I create a new test case, okay, I don't have to record those actions again. All that I can do is I can say, let's say https travel.testsigma. I can say, I can type step group, and I can add the step group that has already been created. So let me show you a much more complex example which I've already created. Let me go to the advanced functional test automation project. Now, this is an example of the step groups in action, right? If you look at it, there are some common step groups that have been used across multiple sections. So this is how you automate functional tests on Testsigma using a very low code oriented approach. It takes minutes to set up and minutes to start using it. So once you've written all your test cases, you can combine your test cases into multiple test suites. So I've combined all my login actions here as a login test suite. And these test suites together, you can combine multiple test suites into test plans. And you can execute these test plans across multiple browsers all in once. So let's say sample test plan, and you can select the test suites that you would like to add. And I'm going to add both. And I can add test machines. I can add whatever type of test machine I want. If I want to add new test machines with different set of configurations, I can select which version, what is the resolution, and I can add those as well. So once my test machines are available, I can go to test plan settings. If I want choose to get notified, I can choose notifications, who should it be sent, and I can click on create test plans. And these test plans could be run instantaneously, and you could also schedule test runs. You don't always have to execute a complete test plan. Let's say if you require a component of a test plan, you can also use the schedule partial run option. So once your tests are executed, you could see all the details in the run results section. Before I proceed to the run results section, I would like to let you know that in Testsigma, functional test automation is not limited only to browsers. You also have functional test automation across mobile devices. I've already created a project to show you the power of Testsigma's functional test automation on mobile. Let me take you there. Again, it is the same Simply Travel application that I'm trying to automate tests across, except that this time it's on an Android device. All right. What I need to do to automate functional tests on mobile is I'll just need the output file. So if I go to test data, I click on uploads, and I'll just have to upload the APK file here. I've already uploaded my APK file here. So after I do that, I can go to create tests, and I can use that APK file to directly record using the Testsigma's emulator. I have already built one such test. Let me show you the same use case that we saw, checking the login functionality on the mobile application. You can see how it works. It is instantaneous. You click on run, and you will be able to run it on any mobile configuration. You select the app and you click on run. Testsigma also supports automating advanced functional test automation capabilities. This includes image injection and QR code automation as well. Now, let us assume a different advanced functional test automation use case on mobile devices. For example, let's say I have an image specific action that I need to do. Can Testsigma support that? Yes. So what I'll also have to do is I'll have to upload my image again in the upload section, and I've already created a test case for it. All that you have to do is you have to go click on, you can record the actions here, and you will have to select which image you want to upload, and then you can configure all the other actions using built-in NLPs. So again, it's very simple. You'll just have to upload the source file, click on record, and start recording. It is as easy as that. So once all your test plans are executed, you will see them on the execution results on the test results page. You can go to the test results, and you will be able to see when they were passed and how much they have run, etc. Right. And it is not just this, you can also manage your functional test cases using Testsigma. You can assign your test cases either for review, or you can submit it for execution, all that I have to do is I'll have to go to manage test cases option here. You can set whether it is in draft or review, or if you want to review it, you can say it is review for by whom or for what. So this is a brief explanation, a very short explanation of how functional test automation works in Testsigma. All that you'll have to do is go create a new project, select the application type, start creating a test case, click on record and start executing your actions. Testsigma will build the test cases for you. The reusable components of your test cases can be added to step groups and they could be used again and again. After creating all your test cases, you can merge them into test suites. And the multiple test suites can be added to the test plans and they can be executed one by one. The status of your test execution could be viewed in the test results section. And in addition to this, Testsigma also helps you automate the troubleshooting process through its built-in integrations. So Testsigma has over 30 plus CI/CD communication and collaboration integrations. To set up any integration, all that you have to do is you have to go in and you will have to enable the API key. You have to get the integration set up. Once the integrations are set up, you can test forward the test results to the integrations as well, and you can process your bugs, you can fix your bugs at a much faster pace. Testsigma also supports advanced test automation functions, including reading data from phone numbers, mailboxes, etc. And you can also build your own reports using the custom reports section. So this, my dear friends, is a brief of Testsigma and its functional test automation capabilities. And before we proceed to the Q&A section, we also have something else for you. We have our ebook that is coming up on the best practices for automating functional tests using Testsigma or using any low-code test automation solution. This ebook will take you from the basics of test automation and the need for functional test automation to what are all the best practices that you can follow to have a seamless and a very instantaneous functional test automation process set up in minutes. And please be sure to join us on the next webinar on Feb 15, where we discuss on how to crack the code on shift left test automation. Again, once again, on behalf of our entire team, we would like to wish you all a very happy new year. And we have a lot of more exciting webinars and ebooks coming up. So please stay in touch with us. We'll keep in touch with you. We look forward to serving the wonderful QA community a lot more. Thank you once again for joining this webinar and have a great day.